Okay, well, I call this meeting to order. And so the first item is review approval of the October minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read Paul's minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, those are approved. Okay, next item is treasurer's report. And
Right. Well,
Dave's going to share screens.
No, we don't need to do that quite yet until we get into budget. Unless you want to do budget now. We're doing quite well in that we got Harmony Foundation, $1,216.50. Harmony Foundation. We have also Google, Benevity, I think we have two guys now from Google, Mark and
Blez.
Mark and Blez. So we got $1,043 from Google, which is
wow.
Yeah. And then the Cabaret brought in $1,640.
Dave, I have a question about that. I'm looking at your deposit thing and it says Cabaret credit card income of 1,002 and then cash ticket sales for Cabaret of 1,695. Isn't that 2,697?
That's income, but not expenses.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. So that was the income was 2,697, and then the number you mentioned is the net after expenses.
Net after expenses.
Okay, thanks.
So that's that story. I did have to pay ASCAP this year because we had one performance for the public, and so we had to pay $264, and that's an expense against Cabaret.
Yeah.
Usually it's kind of split between two, but we had to, do that. And the good news is that we brought in $788 of the raffle at Cabaret.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was really super.
Yeah, Barbara was very she was amazing on that.
Yeah, that's super. I did not include the pizza, either the expense or the income into the Cabaret. That was kind of a social event.
Agreed.
So I charged that to social.
Right.
How did that come out net?
162 of income and 600 of expense. So what's that? 440 bucks?
No. The quartet, the pizza is.
Oh, pizza was 380. Right.
And the income
162. So, well, that's not so bad.
But that's fine. That's great. Yeah. That's great. Thank you, John.
200 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things that would have been, in hindsight, would have been better would be to have identified the afterglow prior to when it was identified. It was sort of an afterthought. The afterglow was an afterthought. That's fun. So, anyway, so I think that if we intend to do that, then we potentially could have had more income because people would have known that they were going to buy their lunch, or buy something, in addition. So I mean, that would just be my suggestion next time, for the agenda that we specify an afterglow in the planning.
Well, we might also put a pot out, I think, a little earlier, and even suggest a donation, $10 if you have pizza or something like that.
Yeah, right. Something. And it's I mean, I expected some kind of loss. That always happened.
No, that's fine. Yeah. We have social money.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave, I'm looking at the Oh, actually, I should be quiet and let you proceed because I'll ask my question later when we get to it.
Okay, so that's the summary for the month. Unless there's questions on that, I'll move on to the summary for the year to date, which is the actual versus budget. And
hey, Dave M, real quick, what is the current net profit on the show?
1,640.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's great. Hey, John Wanless, for that Afterglow being an afterthought, really nice job with it.
Yeah.
You did great with it. Thank you.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was a doable thing. I mean, it wasn't that it wasn't doable. It's just, and I didn't think of it either. I mean, it's not, it's just that next time when we plan, we should, discuss it up front, and then that we could take, have a little bit more. So, anyway, thanks.
Any other questions on the monthly? All right, let's move on to the other report, which is the actual versus budget. I've got, and Dana, I don't know if you want to discuss the draft budget for next year, but let me go through the actual for 2021. We can talk about the draft budget for next year later. In this report, excuse me.
This is the PAMV chapter draft 2022.
No.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's it. Let me share screen. And this is the column that we're talking about right now. Okay. So this is the actual versus budget. And so the main thing to look at is how we're doing year to date compared with the budget. Here's the budget for 2021. Here's the actual for 2021. And you look down at the bottom, we've lost, this is the net loss for the year, about $1,600, which, considering this is a pandemic year and we only had one show, and even the show, normally the cabaret brings in, here's a cabaret profit. Over the years, it was 4,000. And, even in 2017, it was 2,700. So given our current year pandemic, and we only had one show this year, was it, to lose $1,600, that's fine in my mind. We're doing fine.
Yeah. Good.
And I noticed, Dave, that's what I was going to ask you about, which is really interesting. If you go down to the bottom there where you just were, because your expectation was that we were going to lose almost $5,000.
Yeah,
now, I
right.
realize the year isn't over, but we don't have, I'm trying to think of if there are any other expenses coming up that we might have other than paying our director. There isn't, we've paid everything we need to pay to the Elks. Yeah. There isn't anything, the only other possible expense coming out of the music side is to pay the $150 for the learning tracks that Chris Aber is doing for Orange Colored Sky. But other than that, I don't think we have any, I can't think of any other expenses that might be popping up. Can you?
You're correct. That's correct. Other than the director.
So we're going to end up better than our budget was. Yeah?
Yeah, right.
That's good.
Right.
Excellent.
Cool.
The budget said we were going to lose about 5,000. We're actually at about 1,600, and it'll be about 2,500 or so when it really ends up.
Still, that's amazing.
That's
amazing.
That's very good for here. It's very good.
Yeah. Cool.
That's great.
Dana, do you want to talk about the draft budget now, or do you want to do that later in the meeting?
Well, why don't we do that now so we can just get your part finished?
Okay, that's fine. So this last column are numbers that I just kind of threw together, and excuse me, can't talk. And let's go through each one and see. We had roughly $1,600 in dues. I think maybe with the VIH new members, I guessed at $2,400 this coming year. Who knows? We haven't decided whether we're going to do Valentine's Day in person, or will we do the same type of thing as we did last year, which was kind of virtual. So I just put in 1,000 here. If we actually do in-person Valentine's, well, we made $3,000 or so on Valentine's in the past. So that's a decision to be made, whether we're going to do Valentine's. Performance fees, I think it's about the same. I did throw in a show. I'm assuming we're going to have a spring show. So I put in a couple thousand for that. I think next year we're going to go back to our regular cabaret, the fall show, and have 2 shows, and and invite more people. And so I put in 3,000 income for that. $250 just in donations. If we could get some of our Google employees back, we used to bring in, as you can see, 5,000, 3,000, about 5,000 here in Google money. I put in 1,000, and I put in roughly the same for Harmony Foundation. Any comments on the income side of it?
Yeah, I was wondering, what is show profit up to 2017? Oh, okay, sorry, never mind.
Dave, from a line item perspective, I think you have to assume that if they aren't with us right now, they aren't going to come back. I'm thinking of the Google employees. So I think using a baseline of this year's for that line item, I think is appropriate.
Okay, all right. So leave this at 1,000.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on income? All right, let's move down to
Dave, real quick. Like, I think it would be worthwhile to dig into. I think the numbers for the 2 shows I think are fine for this year, or for where we are right now. I think it's worthwhile digging into those numbers and looking at like, I don't know if it's next year or the year after, but I think at some point we're going to want to consider having a show at like a local high school theater with like a high school group, which could change the dynamics of the incoming cost of at least one of the shows. Yeah. Like, I think the numbers you have for now are fine. That's just something I'm thinking about, and maybe like as we're doing 22 planning, we can dial in what those 2 shows look like, if there's any cost or profit adjustments that we need to consider.
Okay, good. All right.
Just as an aside, if you go back, see, in 2020, we didn't do shows because of COVID. 2019, 2018. You go back to 2017 and earlier, our spring shows were always at either a, we did several at the theater over at San Jose City College, and then others we did at places like you was talking about, Mike, a high school facility. The costs are substantially greater. A couple of years ago, for at least 2 years running, we used the facilities at the church that John Wanless is a member of because it worked out really well. They've got great amplification capabilities. They got plenty of seating. They have a recording structure so that we can record the show. Acoustically, it's fine. It just doesn't have the curtains and things like that you would get. And we did have what do we call it? We had special ensembles who performed there as well. So the concept that you described is a historical structure for the Peninsulaires, and we've done that a lot.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, that's cool, Dave. Real quick, for context on that, there's the possibility of like doing things like building relationships with high school choruses.
Yeah, no, we've done that before too.
Where we like open for their show or something like that, right? So there's lots of possibilities. So that you guys know, I'm very show cost conscious, being a former chapter president. So like I don't think anyone's gonna say like let's go rent out the I don't know, the convention center or something like, but like I would like the guys to have the experience of like being on a real stage and with some like theater seats at some point. So
well, like I said,
how to do that very cost consciously.
Understood.
If I remember right, 2019 is when we had it at John Wallace's church and we made $2,700. 2018 is when we had it at San Jose City College and we lost $2,200.
Yeah, and then that was a crazy year, as I recall. But yes, we've done it at City College, and we did it at the Eagle Theater, you know, before. I mean, we've done a lot of this sort of thing, and sometimes we've been successful at participating and having high school groups participate, and sometimes not so much. I mean, there's a lot that goes into getting them there and getting us on their shows and stuff like that. So it's not it's not a new concept to us, just to let you know.
What is Eagle Theater?
That's where
Los Altos High School.
Los Altos High School.
Because I was just going to say my sister is the dance teacher at Los Altos High School, and they do a musical every year, so she's very much connected with
the difficulty in the rented theaters like that is not the rental. It's actually the staff that's required.
Exactly.
As we get more and more into requirements by state and local authorities, we have to have more and more people, and the people are expensive, and that becomes the issue. It's not so much the dollar value of the rental. So you know, you have to use their employees for certain things that we previously did not. You know, sound and lighting and you know, setup and all that kind of stuff becomes a very expensive issue.
Yeah, and that's the value of having this piggybacked as a collaborative activity with.
No, it doesn't. That doesn't work. All right, we tried.
Well, I've done it 4 times with Devil Mountain Chorus, so I disagree with it doesn't work. Especially now that we have a music educator in our group. Nudge.
This is not something that we're going to do in spring 2022, probably. So, but it's something that we need to focus on for the future. But I don't think it requires further assessment during this board meeting. That's just my opinion.
Okay, I don't. Yeah, it's fine to take it offline. I would challenge the group of why not spring 2022, but we could take it offline.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the expense area. I left the payment to the Elks the same. I left the director fees pretty much the same as we've been paying, which will this will come up for further discussion later on in this meeting, I believe, and maybe two Saturday workshops, a couple director fee for shows, the dues. This is all assuming one director. And other director expenses and coaching I put in. Office supplies, they were higher this year, but I'm figuring them back down to 1,000, maybe a little less this coming year. I left the music librarian expenses high, although we didn't spend any this year. Maybe we can reduce that, I don't know. Dave, I need some input from you on this. We've only spent $750 on music. I put what we had in the budget last year.
Right.
the program expense, we had some extra program expense I don't think we'll have again this coming year. And insurance is about the same. And who knows what we're going to have as far as the installation dinner. I put in some money there, and marketing and chapter development and ASCAP fee. And with all these numbers, we make a profit of about $600.
Cool.
Oh, good. So any further discussion on the?
You had a question, Dave Morley?
Yes.
What is program expense?
What is what?
Program expense.
Oh, I can tell you.
What is it?
Well, it's cost. I can tell you exactly what it is. Masks for members, casters for the risers. We spent about $800 in masks this year.
Okay.
A wireless mic in the back, you know.
Okay.
So
I think
the lighting, does that go in there? I don't see a line item.
No, the lighting I put in, let me look and see where, yeah, I put it somewhere.
Which is not going to necessarily be a repeated expense, but I think you put it into the show expense or something like that, cabaret expense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that thank you, Dave, for, and I agree with you. I need to take a look. Matter of fact, we need to do a music team meeting here soon, before the end of the year for sure. And I will be able to give you, that amount that's there is should be a cushion. I don't know how much what we're gonna do musically here in 2022. We got to figure that out here in the next month when we have our next music team meeting. And I guess probably the same is true for Larry and Elliot. I don't think any of us have put any direct thought into what what we might want to have as a budget for 2022. But I appreciate that you laid this out so that we have something to sort of have as a guidepost.
Well, I suggest we just kind of table this. You kind of give me better numbers, and we discuss it at the next board meeting.
Okay.
Yes, I agree. All right,
cool.
Thanks, Dave. All right, next item is chapter development. Elliot.
You're muted.
We still can't hear you.
Elliot, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that.
There we go.
You see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was a little late with that, but yeah, so we're continuing to have some growth, and we seem to be sustaining numbers, even though we were a little down in our last rehearsal. I missed a few because of my vacation and the show before, but usually I tag attendance. One thing I should mention is I am including people such as Jordan and Terry, who haven't been singing with us, but have been showing up to some rehearsals. So maybe it's a little positive there. In terms of VIH, I don't know whether I should have been expecting some sort of official list of who said they would like to join us, but I'm kind of basing things on what I've seen. So the 6 people I have listed here have been attending pretty regularly, and I believe all of them were in the show. I wasn't sure about Mark.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there.
Okay. So I think these 5 were in the show. Larry Weiss was attending pretty regularly. And I think his intent is to continue doing so. Also, we've had these two members. Yeah, I don't know why I was confused about John being lead or bass. He does show up as bass. I think maybe on the initial email he may have been a lead, but he is a bass, right, Curtis? Anyway, yeah, I'm not sure of the intentions of these two.
I can tell you that Chuck Mollett has a conflict on Thursday nights. He has his, I think it's his church group or something that he's been singing with for years that is on a Thursday night. So that's a challenge for him, which is one of the reasons he was going to Tuesday nights at the other chorus.
Gotcha.
And I'm working on John. He's a 19-year-old boy and trying to get him to commit in.
All right. He as a bass, right?
As a bass.
Okay. Okay, good.
Hey, Curtis, real quick, do you know if Joey B is has any intention of coming back after his musical run is done?
That's been typically what happens with him is he does his musical run. He's with us for a few months. He does another musical or something at his church and then in with us for a few months. So I believe so. I can reach out to him and see what I can get some verification.
Okay, cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Dave Kaufman and Nathan Staples, I believe, will not be continuing. They've attended some rehearsals, but I don't think we should be expecting.
Both of them are a definite no. Dave K is moving up to north of Auburn sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Nathan Staples has an ongoing church obligation on Thursdays. So both are strong no's.
Okay. So in terms of our new guests and candidates, Shiv is now a candidate, and I believe on a path to becoming a member. As a matter of fact, that was something I was hoping to discuss with him last week, but he didn't make it to last week's rehearsal. Yeah, we also had Mark Wilson join us a show or two before, a rehearsal or two before the performance, and he actually did participate in the show and seemed pretty gung-ho. So I'm expecting we're going to see more of him. And then our three most recent guests, Drew Kieran, he's attended twice and seems to be interested in continuing. Jason Zhu attended once. I'm going to follow up with him. And then Prashant is our latest addition. Came in through Meetup the same way Drew came in. And yeah, he seems to be interested, although missed the last rehearsal. In terms of upcoming recruitment efforts, I'd like to reach out individually to guests who were coming during we had some in the spring and summer who we haven't seen or heard from. You know, I've been communicating with them, you know, forwarding rehearsal plans and things like that, but haven't heard back. I did reach out individually to them at one point, didn't hear back. I'm going to try it again. But yeah, I'm not sure where that'll lead. Probably time to reach out to some members who may still be returning. Nigel is one I'm thinking of. David Menestrina does not look very hopeful. I can try talking to him again. Yeah, I don't know if any of you have any thoughts on people you think maybe likely.
I have a thought. Gene Morrison was at the our October 23rd performance,
Yep.
and I kind of beat on him a little bit about getting back into the saddle, and he's still kind of on the fence, but with all the music the newer stuff that were coming in, one of his challenges,
I'm not sure whether he wants to be a bass, right?
Well, bass is easier for him to sing than lead, but he had learned all these other songs in lead, but since he has not been there, we've got at least half of our repertoire that, if not more than half of the repertoire that we're singing now, is new for him. And so he could certainly just come in as a bass, and it should not be that problem of having that mental shift. Mike Oliver is going through the same thing. Am I singing lead or am I singing bass right now? And then sometimes when he's going to sing bass, it flips into the lead because, oh, shoot, it's like that muscle memory kicks in. So, and he's had that kind of a physical, a psychological challenge as to whether he would do it or could do it or should do it. So I would reach out to him. The other thing I'm wondering, Elliot, is the four guys whose quartet I can never remember the name of, the young men.
Right. Forward motion.
Yeah. I mean, what is going on with those birds? I mean, I don't know that they've shown up at anybody's chorus rehearsals in the last 6 months, whether it's us or anywhere else, does anybody know?
I think they're over in the corner doing their own thing. I talk with Alex once in a while, and they're still together. They're still recording the occasional video for Facebook and stuff. So they're still active, but they aren't. They're kind of in a holding pattern a little bit until things get back to normal. So like I'm staying in touch with them. I think there's still the potential for like getting them back onto the risers sometime next year. But it's like a medium probability. It's not a low probability. It's not a high probability right now.
Okay.
So do you think this would perhaps not be a good time to reach out to them, or?
I mean, go ahead. It doesn't hurt to say, hey, we were talking about you and just wanted to see, kind of how you guys are feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's completely fine. I do think that there's going to be another opportunity kind of in the January timeframe to like as we're revving up for a spring show and like getting back onto the risers for contest, hopefully. That there's going to be a natural, like, hey, there's an opportunity for another influx, another cohort of guys to come into the mix. So I think I think our efforts. I think the Christmas season is pretty much shot at this point. So I think we should be looking towards like, hey, like after the new year, get back into the party, right?
Okay.
Cool.
All right. And and then the other thing is maybe a campaign on Nextdoor where, we were talking about that, before the show was perhaps not the best timing for cranking things up, but maybe, getting different members to appeal to their neighborhoods. And, I could prepare the package and make them available. So, maybe I'll bring that up in an upcoming biz meet.
From a financial standpoint, we need Google employees.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
We need good singers. That's our first and foremost marketing objective.
That's for sure. I understand. I'm being facetious.
Only partially, David, only partially.
So Elliot, I talked to Greg Kosovich, and he's still working on getting the VIH guys to register with BHS for the Peninsulaires. So there is a process that's underway, but it's going slow.
Okay. If I could somehow be kept in the loop, or, if I could be informed if there's no role for me to play in facilitating that, and it doesn't necessarily sound like there is, then if I could at least find out when they become official. Because I think at that point, if I'm not mistaken, based on our last meeting, I'm trying to remember what it would take for them to then officially become members. We talked about an accelerated process.
I think it's just they set up dual membership, and I assume that we would need to have a vote of the board, because like we do on every member, but we might just be able to do that as a one. Didn't we do one not too long ago? I think it was for Brian Coughlin, where we said pending his completion of XYZ, member. So it was sort of a done. We could theoretically do something like that for all of these men who are transitioning over. So just do it in one fell swoop.
So I need to know who to do it to, and the reports on BHS have just become unreadable. It used to be really nice. You could check the roster online. Now you need to download spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I agree, Elliot. It's really hard.
I'm sorry?
I agree. You're looking at the reports I need to look at. It's very difficult to find them. And then you got to sort them. It's awful.
Yeah, no, it's awful. So it's not something I feel like querying every few days. So if people could let me know once they've become members, I'd appreciate that. And then I can update their status, and pending that final vote by the board. Or
so Elliot, let me hook up Greg with you to track this, so I don't have to be the middleman on this. Okay.
Oh, sorry, were you suggesting I reach out to Greg about it?
Well, I'll connect the two of you. I'll ask him to connect with you and manage that list, so we know who's signed up.
Great.
Okay. Anything else, Elliot?
Nope, that's it for me.
Thank you. Next is marketing.
Excuse me, Elliot, could you stop sharing screen, please?
Sure.
So, yes. Larry.
Hi, guys. Marketing wise, we are, well, I'm getting ready to move to the next step, which some may find interesting. I haven't used Nextdoor locally for much of anything other than helping neighbors and such, but I'm going to be making I'm definitely going to be getting something out locally to announce our performance at the San Bruno tree lighting. I got a lot of friends in town, so I want to make sure that they all know that Larry's gang is going to be there to sing for them. Let's see. I submitted, for the first time in over a year, I submitted an article to Westtunes. I know most of us don't even read Westtunes online anymore, but Don Shively, our division editor, reached out to me and said, I haven't had an article from you, or we haven't had a space for several editions, so he asked me to put something out, and I did. I popped something. He gave me a couple extra days, so I got that done, and because of nobody else writing in these things, he allowed me to add a photo to our blurb, and it's a photo of the finale of the show. I wanted to make sure that I had all of us that were on stage in that photo. So thanks to Dave K's son-in-law, with all those wonderful photos, I was able to post that. So we'll see that in the December issue, the winter issue of Westtunes. So pay close attention to that coming up. What was the other one? Oh, getting back to photos. I received a lot of photos from the show, and I've got, I haven't done it yet, but I've started to dabble into it, and that is creating slideshows that I can share on social media. So we'll be seeing those. Had a bump in the road with Facebook the other day, tried to change our cover photo. I had it all set up and then it went blank. I don't know why it does it on our Facebook page, but I seem to always have difficulty getting that to lock in. So I'm going to work on that a little bit more today. I didn't look today to see if maybe it popped up again, but for 2 days in a row, our cover page was blank, and I don't know why.
Larry, on
sure.
our website, are we promoting, like, you know, the Mountain View tree lighting performance, the other things we're doing, the San Bruno thing, the farmers market on the 11th of December? Do we have that sort of stuff posted on our website?
Not on our website, Dave. Matter of fact, our website is still showing Little Barbershop of Horrors info. I'll have to talk to Mark. He's okay. Usually, we can get together and he can make some changes. He does it. I can do it, but he does it so much faster. I just tell him what I'm looking for and he gets it done. So I'll reach out to him to see if he can't freshen that up for us.
Okay, cool.
It'll take a little dialogue. We got to figure out what we want to say. And it's got to be, if the idea is to kind of keep it fresh for those that do actually look at our website. I wish I had analytics on it because I really don't think people look at our website much. But anyway, yes, I will. I'll follow with Mark on that.
Cool.
Let's see. West Tunes marketing. Yeah, it pretty much covers. As far as holiday performances go, I will have something up on Facebook as well. So I got these challenges with our page, and once I figure out why they're doing this,
are we on things? So we're on Facebook. We have our own website. Are we on? And I should know this, but I don't. Do we have an Instagram account?
No, we do not. No Instagram, no TikTok, no.
Yeah. Should we, and I don't know, I think, Elliot, you're kind of like the keeper of the meetup side. Should we be promoting, or does it make sense to promote our events, upcoming events on our meetup thing as well?
But so by events, you mean things like shows?
Places where we're going to be singing over the next month so people can come and experience us?
Sure. I did that with our, I made the October show an event on Meetup, and could do the same with our other shows.
Okay. Back to me for another minute. I proposed an addition to the agenda today to Dana, and while this isn't really a marketing thing, it's just something I wanted to put on the table to discuss, just to get a feel for, am I nuts? Am I asking for something outrageous, or might we work something out? And that has to do with it has to do with our weekly plan. I know that Dave K and Mike O and Mike C get together every week to review our previous rehearsals, set the plan for the following week. It's not an easy thing to do. I get that. But one thing, now that we are back inside, we're moving slowly towards a normal type of weekly routine. One thing I've missed, and I hope that we can get back, is a more structured rehearsal plan. What do I mean? I'm going to use Sean's planning as the example. The plans that we got on a weekly basis told us, members, what songs we planned on working on. It displayed the amount of time we were going to spend at rehearsal on them. And I understand that time is relative, but if we block out 15 minutes for a song and it goes into 18 minutes, that's not a big deal. But if we block out 10 minutes for a song and we spend 25 minutes on it, that really throws the schedule out of whack. I would like us to consider getting back into a more structured, time-based plan, because it does a couple of things. It keeps the evening moving along very productively. It also gives the members like me, and hopefully others, who like to do homework. I like to sing every night at home. And if I know what songs we are going to work on Thursday night, I'm going to work on those songs. Then I'm going to come to rehearsal prepared to work on those songs. But throwing in a song that isn't on the list, that kind of throws a curveball at me. I'm flexible, but a lot of this is coming from my opinion. The other one, now that we're back inside, I don't expect that Paul or Terry should jump into, making coffee and having snacks, because we're not there yet. But I really miss that real break time, the real break time. Break time isn't, okay, we're sitting down taking a break during business. No, business should be like 15, 20 minutes maximum, and then have a real break time for some, take a leak, get a drink, do some socializing. I've missed that. We don't always have time to socialize before or after. I want to see us get that break time back in. So I just wanted to get that on the table and get some thoughts and ideas, and I just want structure again. I like structure. Dave.
Dave.
Can I suggest that we complete the going through the reports and then we'll pick this up as a new business item?
That's what I proposed it as, but Dana told me to use it.
My fault.
Yeah, he told me to use it as the mark.
I wanted to limit your exposure, Larry.
No problem. Hey, let me tell you that. Here, I'll limit my exposure. How's this?
Oh, that's better. I like that better.
All right.
Okay,
so that's all I got for marketing. A couple more things coming up, but yeah, we just keep moving along.
Great. Thank you, Larry.
You.
Program report.
So there's really no program report. Mike and Mike O and Mike Kading and Dave Cokerhook
and Curtis
now,
yeah,
have been, publishing the program, which in my mind, works pretty well. So I think that that in particular, we've gotten some feedback on Groupenizer as to the ability to attend some of the things that come up. So I think that's pretty much it. There's really nothing unless somebody else has something. Dave.
I've been pushing people from outside, like those folks at Farmers Market, to coordinate with you on things, John.
Yes.
So in any of the other events coming up that might require some kind of collaborative coordination, we're pushing them to you to take care of, because that seemed to be the right location.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things too that I would recommend is, if there's an opportunity, that you present that opportunity as soon as you possibly can. It's very difficult to gather people if they're not given, at least I would say 2 months notice, so that, try to not put things in at the last moment, because that becomes, very difficult to staff. So.
Definitely agree with that.
I have no no difficulty coordinating with people. The bigger thing is when certain, and I can just bring up the San Bruno and Morgan Hill things. When you have contact with people and you, give them hopes for our participation in it, and you haven't given people sufficient time to adjust their schedules or to look at it, then it becomes difficult. And I think it's worse to give people false hope and then not show up. So just in an aside, so there may be, some kind of limit, we can't, honor a commitment unless it's made, 2 months in advance, something like that. So, all right. I know, Larry, I realize, go ahead.
Just to clarify, John, my friend at the city contacted me
Yes.
And I made no promises to her.
Okay.
I
good.
reached out to Dana and Dave via email right after I talked to her to see if it was something we might consider. And the idea was to propose it at Thursday's meeting and then see what happens.
Okay.
I've let her know that we're interested, but that I can't commit until I know that we've got an ensemble to present.
Yep.
So
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Because I wonder, you know, because the next time that it comes up, you know, what happens is if you can't commit or it doesn't happen, the next time that it comes up, they say, well, we can't get those guys, instead of saying, well,
right.
guess what? We need, you know, 2 months and this is gonna,
Yeah.
you know, so anyway, just in line with that. Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you, John.
Hmm.
And last but not least, music VP report.
All righty. I sent out the report, I don't know, a week or so ago. Are there any questions about it from anyone? I assume everyone.
Rosie has a question. So.
Oh, good. I assume everybody had the opportunity to review it. So, you know, there really aren't a lot of. There's no addition to the report, and I think that it was pretty clear. So the only thing that I will say is that I have not yet done is check with my team and scheduled a music team meeting, and I'm looking at the Saturdays and Sundays available between now and the end of the year, and it's like there's like stuff going on all over the place. So we got to figure out a time to do that, because we do have to do some planning for 2022 for sure. And so that's kind of on my shoulders. So, but if anyone has any questions or comments about my report, then I think we should just move on.
Very complete report. Thanks, Dave. All right, so that concludes our formal reports. Do I hear a motion to approve the report, to accept the report?
So moved.
And a second? John, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay. All right. I know this meeting is going pretty long, but there's some real important things to cover in the new business area.
Just one little piece of old business.
Okay.
At some board meeting, I remember agreeing to accept the post office key and pick up the mail, and I completely forgot about it. Who has the post office key? How do I need to get it? And when do I need to pick up the mail?
That's a really good question, because I had the key, but I have no idea. I can't locate it. It's disappeared. So as far as I know, unless Dave Morley, you've managed to come up with another copy of the key.
And I need to go, you don't need to do anything, Mike. Thank you for reminding me. I need to go down to the post office and see if that post office box is still available to us, because I'm sure they've taken it away from us. So I will go down sometime when I have a few minutes and talk to the people there and see if that PO box is still available.
Okay, thanks, guys. All right, well, the first new business item is nomination of a former VIH member to the Peninsula Board. And I reached out to Greg Kosovich first to ask if he would consider being a candidate. And he declined. He says he's really too busy to take that on at this point. So I asked him for a suggestion, and I haven't heard back from him yet. But we did commit to offer a board position to one of our VIH brothers. Okay, next item was
Dana. Real quick on that.
Yeah.
I would suggest reaching out to Rich Postal.
Yes.
That's I don't know if he would say yes or no, but he's more than 50% likely to say yes.
That's good. That was on my mind too, Mike. thank you for bringing that up. Okay, then actually Dave K asked Jerry to do a review of our show, and he put out an email which I forwarded to everybody. Did everybody, you all get a chance to open it up?
Yeah.
So any questions about it?
No, I'd like to make a comment on the show. I think the
Okay.
show did extremely well, with the exception of the auction, right? The time that it takes to do the auction, and I think we need to take a look at that. That particular delay was a long time for us to wait to get onto stage, and I think that from my experience, actually, I was talking to Gretchen about some of the things, and there are other ways to announce winners. One of the ways to do it is to just distribute, to leave the papers that people won on a table and have them come up, take a look, and pick them, so that there is no announcement delay, and then they just wind up taking their things from the table. That has happened, in previous things, and I think that that kind of delay is a difficult thing to absorb into the show schedule.
Okay, makes sense.
Elliot.
Yeah, one piece of feedback I had on that was that there wasn't enough time. There were some people that would have liked to bid on certain items, and by the time they got around to it, the bidding was over.
Yeah, it was a little different this year just because of the logistics and the setup and stuff. But I think we learned something from it. And we did make a profit. We can certainly improve on different levels, both from what Elliot just mentioned and what John just mentioned. If we're going to continue to use a silent auction modality, then we certainly now have some ideas as to how we can improve the way that we present that to our patrons so that they can participate, they can gain their prize, and they can pay their money.
The nice thing about having an auction is that I don't have to register us as having a raffle in the state of California. So I like the idea of an auction.
Cool.
Great. Yeah, well, all of my go ahead, Elliot.
Actually, no, I was just kind of thinking out of the box, but probably not a good idea. But I was wondering whether the silent auction could somehow be conducted in part online to give people an opportunity to start bidding earlier. But
let me mention this concern to Barbara, because she's really good at this stuff, and she's suggesting using an app, and that might fit in really well with that.
Yeah, for everybody that's not technology challenged. I know I've used that at our church for auctions, and yeah, but if you have somebody to help wander around and help with that, that can work.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the flip side of it is, what's the incentive to come in and bid early if you know that some people are only going to bid once they show up, and it kind of makes it a bit weird if it's a combination of online and at the actual show.
Right. Good. All right.
Isn't Dana?
Yeah.
Isn't the auction like part of the show? I mean, isn't that no? Well,
it's part of it interrupts the show, or it's part of our ability to make money.
It's available from the time people arrive until pretty much after the intermission, but it's so in that sense, it's part of the activities of the day, but it's not.
And people, people get to see who gets it, and they get to, jump up and down or whatever. It's I always consider it as a part of the show.
It's something that I think the audience, or at least part of the audience, enjoys.
Yeah.
It's not purely wasted time.
Yeah, I did get a lot of feedback that in the particular execution of this auction just completely derailed the musical performance, just because it was so long. So I think it's +1 to concept, -1 to execution, but we can tighten up execution for next time.
Good. Okay, that's great. Thanks, guys. All right, the next item was, and actually, thank you, Mike, for bringing this up. We need to choose a third quarter barbershopper amongst the group. And I had a couple of nominations. And Dave, do you want to?
Oh, go ahead, Dana.
Okay, we picked a person who, by virtue of his stellar work in setting up our outdoor facilities, recording and video and all of the things that go around that we nominate that person, who happens to be Larry Valencia.
So he would be a nominee. Any other thoughts for who might be barbershopper of the quarter?
Jerry Wong.
Oh, for having managed to corral us all on making the show thing come off all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was on my list too. We could do that for the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's true, because the show was in the fourth quarter, wasn't it?
Q4, yep.
Right.
Yeah. Good idea.
All right.
Okay, good.
So any other suggestions?
I'd like to nominate Larry as a barbershopper of the third quarter.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Larry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well deserved, Larry.
Yeah.
Another frame on the wall.
Let's see, let me get the motion and the second.
Dave Morley had made the motion and Dave Kay seconded.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
So I'm going to ask this question then, given that I know it's only 2 months into, well, like a month and a couple of days into Q4, but do we really want to wait until January to do this, or should we just do the Q4 thing and make it Jerry and say it's done?
Will that save on printing costs?
No.
We could do it. I mean, we do have a December board meeting, right? We could do it then.
Well, Dave Kay was suggesting we get it out of the way.
But we don't have any activities planned. Well, I guess there's some sing outs, but I think that's a good suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, well, do I hear a nomination?
Yeah, I nominate Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay, do I see a second?
Second.
Mike O seconds it. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. So Jerry Wong is our Q4 barbershopper reporter. All right.
Another thing we don't have to try to remember.
Yeah.
So we not announce that for a while, or
Why we don't announce that until January.
There you go.
Can I announce the Q3?
Yeah, you put the Q3 in the minutes. Yeah.
All right. Next item is the installation dinner planning. And Dave Kay suggested that we talk about that now. And so last year, of course, it was all virtual. And I guess the first question is, do we think we can make this in person at a restaurant? Do you think that's a viable plan?
It is for me. There are people who are more concerned than I am, obviously.
I think it's viable.
Okay.
What about in person at the Elks Club?
That could happen. We'd have to have a
Then
caterer.
are you thinking of a potluck dinner then?
No, where I'm kind of going with it is I personally am still not 100% like eating in public with like other people, but like trying to get like some sort of isolation or like 2-hour group rather than being among a large group. So like if we could find a restaurant where we could get like just us, that would be very comfortable.
Well, the last 2 or 3 times that we did this, we were at, was it Giovanni? Is that the name of the restaurant in Mountain View on Castro Street? And they have a room and it's off to the side and it was just us. And the servers came in and gave us food, but it was just us. And so the idea would be to be in a location where that could be the case, because we do get a little rowdy and we sing and do all kind of stuff, and the rest of the restaurant would be disrupted if we did that. So
Don Giovanni's is a nice place.
Yeah, they're very accommodating to us too. So I have all the contact info, but I need some help pulling this together.
Sure.
So
no problem. We can give you a hand. I mean, is that, but I guess the question that Dana posed is, do we want to do this as an in-person in a restaurant thing in in January?
As opposed to a virtual thing.
Or a non-thing, yeah, as opposed to a virtual thing, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of a gathering, a real gathering, yes.
So Harry, would you give us your crystal ball on what's going to happen by January?
I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, but I'm on the fence. Well, it depends what the prevalence is at that time. It's hard to make a prediction, and if it was just us, I think I would lean toward, it's okay, but it's on this, a lot of things to consider: the size of the room, the ventilation, a lot of unknown factors. So I think I'd have to just abstain at this point. Yeah.
Dave K.
Harry, I have a question relevant to that, and that is, from what you've been observing and studying, how does having whoever's in an environment having had their booster come to play in that type of consideration?
Yeah, it helps, but it's very difficult to ascertain how, like what percentage of vaccinated people, let's say, are at risk for a breakthrough infection, because it depends on the prevalence. In other words, if you're in a community where 100% of the people are vaccinated, just hypothetically, then every case is a breakthrough case. So it's 100%. If you're in a community, hypothetically, where no one is vaccinated, then every case is an unvaccinated person. So it's really hard to get at that number. The vaccines are fairly effective, but they're not perfect. I've been reading that the San Jose Sharks had several cases. They have an outbreak, and they're all vaccinated, I believe. I'm not a sports fan. I haven't followed that real closely, but these things do happen.
But did any of them have serious cases? I mean, to me, that's
I don't know the details.
Because I'm not worried about getting a cold, right? I mean, well, I am a little bit, but just to me, it becomes a normal risk once you're vaccinated, because the chance of serious disease seems to be quite good.
And that's kind of a personal decision, because I wouldn't want to get COVID, but if it was a mild case, but I really don't want to get long COVID.
Yeah.
And what's the risk of that? That can be life-changing and small risk, but I don't want to go there.
Absolutely.
Paul?
Well, it might be easier and safer to do it at the Elks Club. It has better ventilation. It has more room than Giovanni's. We were always crammed in there. Well, it was nice, but with COVID, we'd have more room. We have the great ventilation. It seems like it'd be a good, if we're going to do it in person, that might be a safer, better alternative.
Yeah, I mean, some buildings have made improvements to ventilation with special filters and bringing in fresh air. I have no idea, you know, in any individual restaurant where what they have in that regard.
And the Elks Club is old. You guarantee there's no HEPA filters.
Right, I'm sure.
Ventilation.
But at least it's a big space and the room is connected to other rooms. I mean, it's not a small enclosed space. We could leave the side doors open.
Yeah, there's lots
a way
of things
to monitor it. I can mention that now or get to it later. But you know what they do in schools, for example, classrooms. The state, in fact, mandates that they use CO2 monitors because as we breathe, we exhale CO2 and moisture. That's the way it works. And if we sing, we exhale more because it's a more strenuous activity. And so the state mandates that classrooms have those monitors. What happens is the baseline level of carbon dioxide in the air, I think, is about 430 parts per million. A century ago, it was probably 300, but it's about 430. When the parts per million of carbon dioxide rises to 800, then 1% of the air that you breathe is air that's been exhaled by the others in the room. And it doesn't matter how far you are apart, it diffuses all throughout the room because aerosol, unlike the heavier droplets, hangs in the air for several hours and we all breathe it. The state mandates classrooms, for example, if it rises to a level of 1100 parts per million, well, it's class dismissed at that point. That's the legal limit. And actually, maybe you think I might be kind of paranoid, but I just yesterday ordered from Amazon a little pocket CO2 monitor, which I can bring, you know, to rehearsals. It's not going to come, they say, until Friday, so it won't be at the next rehearsal. But it's a way of monitoring the quality of the air so that we all know what we're breathing. And if it's low, you know, below 800 parts per million, we're pretty safe. Nothing's 100%. If it gets higher, then, you know, the higher it gets, the more risk there is. And also, like we did at the last rehearsal, I think really a good idea, and I'd urge we continue it, is to open one of those side doors to let the fresh air in, because fresh air helps dilute the aerosol, which could be contaminated if somebody shows up with a breakthrough infection, which could be asymptomatic and they might have no idea that they're contagious.
Well, thank you for that. John Walness, you had your hand up.
I did. So I like Mike Kading's suggestion. I think, you know, we can rent heaters. You know, let's just have the thing outside. We don't have to worry about parts per million or CO2 monitors or anything like that. I mean, many of the restaurants, all just, you know, that we've been dealing with now have heaters outside, you know, and it's comfortable. We can just eat outside. We can have it catered. I don't think that we should, you know, exclude people, you know, because they have certain ideas about COVID. You know, let's just do it outside and rent heaters. I mean, I think that, you know,
I would be totally in favor of that.
Okay.
Dave K.
The Elks actually have 3 outdoor heaters over on the side that are usable. We had considered using them for the October 23rd show. If it had been cold outside, we were going to pull them in, but the weather was beautiful, so we didn't need them.
And I have 2 that I could bring down, so we got plenty of heat. I like the Elks idea too. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Mike O.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm willing to go along with that. Personally, I loathe those things. I find them very uncomfortable because you're always too hot on the side that's close to the heater and too cold on the side that's away from it. And I just don't like them at all. But I'll put up with it to hang out with you guys.
Michael, remind me to never go camping with you.
But the big fire in the middle.
Exactly.
Okay, so So if we did that, then, which I think is okay, then Dana, we should talk about finding someone that can cater food and what kind of food we should do. We did something several years ago where it was like a Western themed thing because we were going to do a Western show that spring, and we had it catered by Armadillo Willie's. So we could do anything we want to.
Yeah, my wife knows all about that. She does that all the time. So
oh, cool.
I can get her to help. Larry.
We could also consider Elks members because they have at least half a dozen people that prepare their weekly dinners.
Yeah, so we have
just a thought. I mean, these guys come in and cook meals for 50, 60 people. Anyway.
Okay, so then why don't we table this for now, but go and investigate some options for the Elks, either inside or outside. Looks like we're pushing to outside. Not sure that everybody will be, especially the gals, be comfortable with being outside in that temperature zone, but
oh well. Should we identify a date? Target date, Dana, because you're going to have to coordinate with a installing officer and stuff.
Right. Okay. So can we pull up January? So it would be a Saturday, I imagine. So how about the 22nd? That too deep into the month?
It could be Sunday afternoon also.
You think you get catering for Sunday? I guess you could.
You could. You get catering anytime you need to. I don't know if there's anything wrong with this. Well, I mean, we've done it on both days of the week, so it's either on Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah.
Sunday, it would help.
What's that, Paul?
Sunday would be good for me. Sunday would work better for me. I mean,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
We also, better for me too.
We also have Martin Luther King weekend that we should stay away from.
Yeah, which is the 15th, 16th, 17th.
Okay, so how about the 23rd?
I think that sounds okay, good to me.
What month are we in?
January.
Okay, I'll put that down as tentative unless something makes that not possible.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, that's great. Okay. The next item is the status of the VIH transfers. We already covered that. And then, okay, the next one is the status of discussion with Curtis and Mike about co-director options. And so, Mike, you put out a summary just this morning, I think, right?
I did.
Yeah. Do you guys want to, Curtis, you and Mike want to talk about that, kind of guide us through it?
Sure, I'll start. So the way to think about this, and I tried to be clear in terms of like how much of it was mine, how much of it was Curtis, but like you guys know, I think at this point that Curtis and I are kind of debriefing and planning. We have at least 2 calls a week these days in terms of collecting thoughts on the previous rehearsal and working through the plan for the following rehearsal, as well as kind of thinking forward in terms of 1, 3, and 6 months out from a music program perspective. The goal of this document was basically to lay out, in effect, an FAQ of like how Curtis and I see a co-directorship model working. Trying to anticipate the sorts of questions that you guys would have, that chorus members would have, and just trying to have a starting point for the skeleton of a working co-director model. Now that document includes everything from, examples in how it works in other courses to, kind of everything. There's a compensation segment, there's a culture and values segment, risks and challenges, just kind of everything. I think the other thing I should mention is that this is my representation of how Curtis and I feel. I didn't have the ability to 100% confirm that before sending that out. So treat that as like my thing, but I did take Curtis's input a lot on that. But there might be little like detail stuff between Curtis and me. What probably makes, Curtis, do you want to add anything to that?
I was just, Mike had tried to send me the draft early in the week, and I was having difficulty opening it. So I'm looking at it as you guys are at the moment. He and I have had numerous discussions on this, and I feel from those discussions that Mike's going to represent that well.
Okay.
And what might be the most useful time, and I know it's not much time to digest, but we want to be open to answer questions you guys have, or kind of discuss concerns. At this point, like I think Curtis and I are pretty aligned. My goal is that you guys are aligned as well. So what can we do to help you with that?
I'm going to interject here if I may, because I think many of the board members might not be aware of this, but Dave Morley, Dana, and myself have had individual conversations with Mike C. and individual conversation with Curtis about this concept, because it was first brought up and Mike C. was sort of just like, raising the possibility. So we thought we needed to kind of have an initial conversation with the two of them. And so just to let you guys know that there has been some board interaction on this topic. And it wasn't just all of a sudden, here it is today. So back to Mike C's question. Any questions, comments, thoughts from anybody? Larry?
I just have a question regarding, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but I read something in your draft, Mike, that mentions directors making decision on contest and or performance music.
Yep.
I feel that the concept is cool, but I still feel that the music team needs to be involved in decision making. Whereas we come up with a number of tunes that we think will work for contest, we discuss and we decide as a collaborative rather than, excuse the term, allowing you two guys to decide what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And Curtis can weigh in on this as well. Like, from my perspective, what's been working over the last 6 to 12 months was I feel like we've got a pretty good kind of repertoire pattern in place where we've got a pretty established set of slots. And this goes back to like a 1982 like Harmony University like pattern for putting together a program, right? But we're to the point that we have a pretty good set of slots, and now we're talking about like, okay, we need to one of our songs does not have legs. What do we want to replace it with? Or we have a show coming up, and we want to do like a specific theme song or themed song, something like that. I think I feel like the pattern that we have is working pretty well, where like a suggestion boils up from somewhere, doesn't meet the learning objectives. We like the music team inputs on like, is that a good vehicle for us from a
from an objectives perspective. And then, you know, the goal is to be able to make quick calls on like making repertoire changes. That's my perspective. Curtis, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I'm good with that. That's right in line with what we had talked about.
Yep.
I think that Larry, just to speak to Larry's point, I think the, you know, one of the things that has been a solid element for the Peninsulaires, at least as long as I've been part of the Peninsulaires, the last 17 years, has been that the music team has been very collaborative with the director, whoever the director happened to be at the time, regarding musical choices. Just, you know, just because it keeps the involvement of the members through the music team to the evolution of what the organization is going to be performing, as opposed to just a mandated here it is. And that seems to have been a fairly successful structure in the last year and a half. It's worked as well in what we've done with the music that's been brought in to us for the new songs that we've sung in the last year and a half or 2 years since Mike C came on board. So the expectation is that that'll just continue, I guess, is to speak to Larry's point. I'm in agreement with Larry. Mike O?
Yeah, so I just want to say that, you know, I've been really pleased with Mike C's choices so far, and I'm pretty happy to let that continue. The only thing is that I think if there's a thought that a certain song doesn't have legs, that's maybe something that should be brought up to the music team, because it can be kind of upsetting if a song that we like just gets yanked out.
Yeah, and like my core goal, I mean, like there was a very clear misstep early on where I was pushing Smiling Through very strongly, right? And like my the change this time is like I'm not gonna say we're doing this without getting some real key input that, like, yeah, this is a good song, this has legs, this is good for these reasons.
But it was more the other side, right? Like if they just, you know, if you just suddenly decided we didn't want to sing Lord Be Willin', that would upset me a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, goes both ways.
Yeah,
cool.
Right.
Dave Morley.
I'm okay with this proposal. However, as you might expect, I'm concerned with the financial aspects. Since in the budget, I put in the cost of one director. So I think we need to work on the budget for next year before we make a final decision. My goal is to try to come up with a budget that breaks even for the year, or we can lose a little bit, but we still want to try to not lose a lot. And
yeah, Dave, when Curtis and I were talking about this, you know, do you know my current monthly, like what I'm doing per month?
We pay you $60
a week.
A week.
Oh, okay. That's
okay. 240 a month, and in your
this is double that. Okay.
Yeah, it's double that.
That was a mistake on my part. Then, for some reason, I had it in my head that it was $400 a month, and so we wanted to keep kind of in that zone. So that's a mistake on my part. I think Curtis's and my expectations are that, like, you're not paying for two directors, you're paying for one, 50% times two. I was not expecting an increase in director salary related to a co-directorship.
Having said that, I'm going to suggest that, assuming that we do that, that it might be reasonable to increase that slightly. If it's 60 instead of 30 apiece, maybe we bump it up to 35 or 40. But I also think we ought to cover the membership, and that we would for our director, the membership fees with the society and going to events and things like that. Cover that for both of them. That would seem, I don't know what that boils down to, but I'm suggesting that would fit into the concept of supporting both directors in their efforts to support the chorus. But
I mean, and the director's fees do seem very nominal, and we are getting more value out of it by having the collaboration.
Yeah, Dave M.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be fine. I would suggest we kind of rework the budget.
Okay.
With those in mind, and before we actually take a vote, that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
So we ought to take this month to kind of fine tune this then?
Yeah, that would be my suggestion. I think we're all, what I'm hearing, I think we're all on board with it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of fine tuning some of the numbers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, agreement in principle and get into the details.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then so there's a contract associated with this then, so there would be two contracts.
Right.
Mike C, you've got a current contract, right, which is actually yearly with a review every year. Have you gotten a review yet?
No.
As your boss giving you your review.
Oh no, he's going to go for promo.
Since we're 2 weeks after the show, it's time for the promotion conversation, right?
Anyway, so we got to work that thing out. Larry.
Real quick, I would like to propose as of today that while we're working through this, whether it be budget wise or whatever, that we recognize the potential of two great guys that want to work together for the good of the chorus. And I'd like to see that happening like starting Thursday. Curtis, this is for you. Mike, you guys have done it already. And I've had a great time working with both of you. I'd like us to make a decision today that let's move forward with what we've already begun, and the contractual and the budget stuff we can work out over the next month or so. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I think we're all in agreement with that. I don't see anything. Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely.
Cool.
We don't need a vote. We've already expressed our feelings.
Cool.
That's great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mike and Curtis, for putting your lives into this thing. And it's more than just a job. It's a passion that you clearly have for barbershop singing. Paul?
Yeah, I want to go back to one thing, and Larry brought it up about a break. Break. Oh,
excuse me. Can I interrupt? I want to see if Dana's finished with this topic before we move on to the next topic.
A good point. I'm done with that.
Okay. Sorry then. Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, I thought you were done. Yeah. Break has been just kind of forgotten in a way. We always had a break. I think we need a break. I mean, when you have a job, it's a legal requirement that you have 10 minutes
every 4 hours, right? So I'm fine for adding making rehearsals 4 hours long.
This is pretty intense. It's tiring. It's tiring, especially for old people. So I think we really need to quit shoving this out of the way, and we have an actual break. I agree with Larry 100%.
Okay.
All right. Well, Dave K.
I wanted to, I was hoping we would get back to this topic, and I wanted to have a couple of thoughts. First, and there were 2 points that Larry brought up, and I'll address the other one, which had to do with the information that's in the weekly information. The songs that are going to be addressed every week have been identified every week in the communications that I sent out and that Mike O sent out. So we know what songs we're going to be working on. The question is exactly how much time and in what sequence. And I will agree that that has not been fully determined when we have our Saturday morning planning session for what we're going to cover in the upcoming session. So that's, like you said, Sean Abel was very anal about laying that stuff out that way, because that's the educator. How much time do I have in this 50 minutes to teach my students what I'm going to cover type mentality? And we haven't been in that modality here for the last, since Mike C took over. So whether or not we're able, I suspect we could become more defined in that regard. I think we tried to do that initially on the first few rehearsals back in January of 2020, when we actually had physical rehearsals until COVID kicked us out. And it sort of was a sliding thing because I think everyone will agree, what tends to happen when we're working on something, Mike C doesn't let anything slide. And if we need to spend an extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes to make sure that something isn't falling apart, he's going to do it, regardless of what the schedule said. So that gives us a little bit less structure in that regard. But I think, Larry, that we could begin to put more expectation, present some expectation in how much time we're going to spend on each subject into the weekly briefing. And then hopefully we can kind of try to stay there. I've been holding it, and maybe someone else will want to take this on, trying to keep things on time, waving at Mike or Curtis to say, hey, we're getting late. So hopefully we can do that in a little more structured way. So I think that is doable. Hopefully that addresses your question on that topic. Who wants to go first?
Elliot.
Yeah, so one thought I have is, I think these deviations that we've made from the schedule, for the most part, where we really drill something or focus on getting the harmony right, or whatever aspect we're working on, I find those have generally been very productive and made a big difference. So what I'm thinking is maybe an approach to it would be to put out a schedule, put out an allocation for, these tunes will be worked on, and some sort of outline, but also to allow for some time, some overflow time, maybe 15 minutes or, whatever, that should we find that, hey, we're really onto something here, let's keep working this, we have the freedom to do that. And maybe if we don't use that time, we use it for refresher on something old or something fun, or we could even have a backup thing in the schedule, time permitting. But that way we could have a combination of the structure and the freedom to do things. My thought.
All right.
One of the points I tried to make with regards to the planning of these are the songs we're going to work on this week is the fact, and I'll reiterate, I like singing every day. And if on Saturday, when I see the plan, I immediately get my music together. I line up my learning tracks. I have something to work with. I'm going to argue that deviation from the plans, we've been pretty good, but there have been multiple evenings where all of a sudden a song is presented that I didn't even think about during the week. I'm not saying that I absolutely can't sing that song, but I kind of, like sports, I kind of psych up for Thursday night. And if what I think we're going to be working on is this is the plan, that's what I'm working on this week, and then we finish warm-ups, we do the old songs, and all of a sudden, oh, let's do an Armed Force medley that a lot of us don't even know, and I'm one of them. I'm still in the chart on it. That's my point. I totally get the fact that, hey, we might be finding something that we need to spend a little more time on, and I'm all with it. If we don't do a song because of taking extra time on another one, that's okay. But I'd rather have the structure that gets presented for those. There might be a couple guys like me that actually like to work at home and be prepared.
Well,
Thanks,
hopefully
Larry.
we do that more than we don't do that.
Yes.
I think it's happened a few times, and it's like any, what was it that Mike Tyson said, your plan for getting in the ring works until you get hit the first time. So things can be adjusted. Sometimes we have to.
Yeah.
Mike Oaks has a comment.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like the thing is that part of what I get out of Mike C's audibles and so on is I feel like, I'm not just learning the songs, I'm learning how to be a better singer. And that's a lot of what I get out of rehearsals. And I feel like when Mike C does it, brings in an unexpected song, a lot of the times it's not to focus on a weak point in that song, it's to focus on something in technique. And I honestly really appreciate that. I would not mind spending double the time that we do on technique. I get a lot out of that. So I'm not trying to suggest that there's not value in knowing what songs we're probably going to sing, but I feel like that it's important to keep that flexibility to work a song because it brings up a point of technique.
Curtis.
Appreciate it. So on my director's perspective, to balance, if I may, to balance both of those sides, because I love working technique, but I can find it as a director difficult to address technique if the ensemble and singer's not prepared on a song, so they're just fighting words, or they're fighting notes or rhythms or whatever. So a balance can be struck, and then it's awareness that, okay, so like I had found that this week when I was working on that transition from chorus 2 to the interlude, and we weren't prepared to go into that interlude, so I adjusted on that, and then said, okay, you might remember, I think I actually said, it's okay not to know this week, but next week we need to. Mm-hmm. Because just in addressing that, and that's again, it's finding balance. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you just make adjustments, and Mike's been doing that. I do that all the time. We just make the adjustment. I hear you on that, Larry, and I hear what Dave's saying about, it's there. Probably some continued fine honing can be done, and we can work on that. I'm not going to speak for Mike, but I know that we can work on that together as we go on forward.
Moving forward, I think what we certainly are able to do is identify the songs and the anticipated length of time to spend on them, though it may not happen in the sequence that's identified in the weekly briefing, because that there may be reasons for changing sequence, but I think that's certainly something that's doable. So from that perspective on what Larry was talking about, I think hopefully that covers that question. Does anything more to talk about? Okay, cool. So now let's talk about.
Sorry, let me give 30 seconds on 2 closing thoughts on that. the first is the observation that I'm not a musical educator, right? You guys have become used to that with Sean, and that's cool, that's fine. You now have another musical educator down front in Curtis. So I expect this will kind of naturally evolve and we can take that input and kind of work through it. The other observation, just so you guys know, I have been in about 4 what I would call A-level musical groups. Not a one of them listed out on a weekly basis. Here's how much time I'm going to spend on this item in this rehearsal. I understand kind of the desire for that, but I also notice that could become a limiting factor if that somehow gets in the way of the objectives of the rehearsal or limiting the effectiveness of whoever's down front. So I don't think we're saying that, but like there is thought behind the madness. There is method to the madness. You know, I think this is something that will naturally evolve over time, and that's completely cool with me. So there you go.
Thanks, Mike. Larry, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I'll try to wrap it up. Don't misunderstand me, guys. I'm not saying that we have to have such a structure that, you know, it's black and white. There is no black and white to artistry, right? I mean, I agree with Mike O regarding technique. I agree that we may find a tune that one of our directors hears something and he wants to work it. I'm totally into that. What popped into my head right now, which is why I raised my hand, and you might have seen it in the email I sent with our video from Thursday, is that I know we can get better at doing our learning at home, and I don't think we've really addressed that for quite some time. We're in a bit of a time crunch right now, aren't we? We've got some holiday performances coming up. Some guys don't know the music at all. Others have to shake off the rust, but we shouldn't be shaking off that rust or dust at rehearsal. We should be working at home. So if we know what those songs are going to be, I'm not saying I only work on the songs in the plan. I'll grab a song and work it as well. But I just wanted to make that kind of clarify where I was coming from with that. Maybe we just need to implement the homework plan again to get guys to realize that you got to do this work. You got to do some work at home. That way, we're not wasting time with it at rehearsal. The last thing is, and we touched on it regarding break, is I would like us to get back to a business meeting that is reduced. Get through it, have our points, write an agenda, whatever you got to do, but start it, stop it. Now it's break time.
That was the next thing I wanted to have us talk about, Larry, was that second idea.
Okay.
Yeah, second area.
So I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
I watch the videos, and the videos, they take hours to edit. And I know Mike doesn't care if I edit or not, but if I put out raw video of our rehearsals that start at 7:30 and end at 10:15 or later, I'm cutting out sometimes 45 minutes of video simply because it's blah, 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 talk, talk, talk. I think we can do a little better to be productive.
Great. Thanks, Larry.
So I wanted to then go back to the second point, which is this question of break. We really haven't totally had one per se in the last, I don't know, since we've been back, and since we started rehearsing outdoors.
Or on Zoom either, really.
Yeah, well, but Zoom, we had an abbreviated thing. We didn't go till 10 o'clock. We started at 7:30 and we went to like 9 or 9:10 or something like that. So we had a much shorter thing on Zoom because you just can't, it's so much harder to do it. But physical, yeah, I get it. And it's been, and I agree that it would be useful. I think we've bypassed it to a certain degree, just because of the desire to focus on improving the quality of the chorus. So I'm gonna throw something out and see what the board members think. One of the things that we could do, right now we close our rehearsals at 10:15. We could add a 15-minute break in the middle and run rehearsals till 10:30. Is that, would that? What I'm trying to do is create a condition that allows us to have that downtime without impacting much the director's, plural, perspective on what they want to accomplish in the rehearsal. Thoughts?
Real quick, David, observation is that we've been limited in our ability to sit down as we've been outside, which has been possibly contributing to fatigue. I suspect once we're inside and we can have quartet or small group activities, and the guys can sit during that, that will help with like kind of late rehearsal fatigue as well.
Agreed. Thank you. Paul?
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'd like to make a motion that we have at least a 10-minute break each night somewhere in the middle of our rehearsal.
Well, that's already part of our plan, but just absolutely doing the 15 minutes is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, 10, 15 minutes, whatever.
So I think Larry's point is very valid. Like we've been having business meetings and non-chorus rehearsal or non-rehearsal time exceeding 45 minutes over a how long is a rehearsal? 7:30, 8:30, 30 over an hour and 45
2
minutes.
hours and 45 minutes.
Okay.
And if we go to 10:30, that's fine with me. I don't mind that, just to have a break in the middle.
Okay. But for so the observation is that we may spend, unless we change something, like historically speaking, we might be spending up to an hour of not singing over a 2 hour.
Can I ask a question on that? Because I haven't looked at the raw stuff. Like Larry, are you saying that the business meetings and things not associated with Men on the Risers has been approximately 45 minutes every week?
That is on the high side, Dave. And I go the high side because we've had some evenings where everything just kind of comes together. Everything flows. But we've also had several evenings where I'll use this one as an example. When I start recording, I generally start very close to 7:30. And I'm going to go to outside rehearsal. I can't talk about last Thursday's yet. That's a different subject. From a videographer's perspective, okay? I start recording early enough knowing that I'm going to be editing out some of the beginning. I'm not going to start it with all of us slowly meandering over to the circle or slowly meandering to the risers, which is what we do. Doesn't matter who's calling it or how many times we say it. Anyway, point is, I'm always editing some in the beginning, okay? But I've had quite a few, whether we're outside or in the back or in the front, wherever we've been, where things seem to get dragged out, which increases the timing of the flow, okay? The point about break, I'm with Paul. I think we should figure out a way to get that 10 or 15 minutes back in the middle somewhere. However, one thing that jumps out almost every week for a very long time now, since we've been back, is that the business meeting it keeps getting longer and longer and longer and longer. And I wonder how much of that is really business as opposed to just talking about stuff. I mean, Q&As are important. We need to address, present, address, take questions, but then move on to the next. And what we've been doing is turning that 20, sometimes 25-minute
no, I agree.
biz section into break as well. Okay, I'm the only smoker in the chorus, but sorry, guys.
We can do better. We can do better, Larry. That's
I'm just. And I like the social aspect
my
of the break.
Responsibility for the business meeting. So let me work on making that more crisp.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it went long the last couple of weeks is planning for the show and all the interaction there. But I'll commit to paring down the business meeting,
which will then allow that time for break.
For break, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Mike, do you have anything else you wanted to add? Mike C.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts, kind of at a macro level. I feel like we have a ton of momentum coming out of the show. I think we set a really strong bar. We definitely had a very a significant cohort of new singers. I think somewhere between 6 and 8 new first-time performers for the show, which is fantastic. We know the reasons behind that, but like just from a growth and energy perspective, that's a fantastic result. We're heading into the Christmas season. Having shows out, we're still doing the right things to accomplish our mission of get barbershop out into the community. And I love that we're doing that and like making those balanced choices between is it the right product versus can we accept the opportunity. All of that stuff is great. The most like I'm already thinking forward to 22 Q1 and 22 Q2 is going to be on us before we know it. I think the most important things are, heading into the new year, to not rest on our laurels. We still have room for growth on our musical product. We have room for growth both in increasing our fan base and increasing our membership. And I think we've got to, heading into the 22 planning, that like kind of our two primary administrative objectives should be grow the fan base and grow the membership. The worst thing we could possibly do right now is to relax. So I challenge the board as they're going into 22 planning to really drive those as two core priorities. We are in spitting distance of being a 40-man course instead of a 30-man course. And once we're at 40, like 50 becomes the next objective. So let's not take our foot off the pedal at our strongest moment in the last 2 years. So that's what I got. Thank you, guys.
Great, thanks, Mike. Good of the order. If we could be crisp and move through that, because it's already 2 hours into it. My butt's falling asleep sitting in the chair. Anyway, so Dave Morley.
I like cabaret and things are moving forward. I'm sure enjoying seeing with more people. So, but I'll second what Mike just said. Keep moving forward.
Thank you. Harry.
Yeah, for me, the show is really a peak experience, I guess you'd say. I mean, I think it's fun to sing together and to improve the quality of our singing. I love that. But when you can share it with others and you see people clapping along or smiling and sharing what we do and making people happy, that's at a whole nother level. And also, I have to apologize, but I have to leave at this point. I have a family commitment coming up. But thanks everybody, all you guys.
So long, Harry.
Harry. Paul.
Oh, well, it's been a great experience having Curtis with us now, so I look forward to meetings and improving, and that's all I'll say, and that's it.
Thanks, Paul. Dave K.
So I'm getting my COVID booster in an hour from now. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's hopefully good for everybody, including myself, and looking forward to all this holiday stuff coming up, because it's a fun time of year to be singing outdoors with lots of people and bringing them some joy in the holiday season. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, Dave. Mike O.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out that that when John Wanless, with his background, gets up and leaves, it looks like he's walking up into heaven there.
And walking into the sun,
yeah. The sunset background, yeah.
John's walking into the light.
And other than that, I'm just getting
the restroom probably.
And other than that, I'm just getting a real kick out of being part of this group. And I agree, we've got some great trajectory right now, and looking forward to seeing how that pulls out.
Thank you, Mike. John Lumless.
So yeah, I'd like to say the show was great fun. Really liked it, and having also fun with the quartetting, and looking forward to lots of more in-person connectivity between barbershop and our audiences. So that's it.
Thank you, John. Elliot.
Well, I had my booster yesterday, and the good news is no reaction so far. And apart from that, I think having VIH join us just been a wonderful thing. I love the quality of the people who have joined us. I love having Curtis there. The co-directorship, I think, is a great direction. I also feel really good about the show. It's all good, and looking forward to continuing growing and improving.
Thank you, Elliot. Larry.
I think I've said enough today. You guys don't want to hear me talk anymore. I too am going for my boost. Thanks, Paul. I too am going for my booster shot here shortly. Everything we're doing, fellas, is just forward. I love the concept of the pedal to the floor. We got to keep moving. We got to keep doing what we're doing, because we are doing it really well. I know our meeting ran long, but I thought we were going to talk a little bit about the setup that we used on Thursday. I wasn't crazy about it. I just had some thoughts, and I would certainly be willing and able to stick around longer to talk about it. But I had a blast, Curtis, Thursday night. Missed you, Mike. But we are going, and it's a blast. I can't wait to get back on the contest stage, too. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Larry. Curtis.
I want to say I've been having a blast with the group for the last 2 months. I am so appreciative that you made space for me and the guys on the risers in the last show. I am really looking forward to the next show, to getting to have the fun of the first half of the show that we weren't quite set up for us, which was totally understandable. And yeah, thank you for making space for me on the risers. Thank you for making use of my skills in front as well. And Mike and I have been having some incredible conversations that just keep me really jazzed about this.
Thank you, Curtis. Mike, anything else to add?
Not for me. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Well, guys, I just really want to say how much I appreciate each one of you on the board and the work that you put in to this. And I'm so excited for what we're doing on the risers. And my friends who came to the show were just blown away. I got comments. It was the most fun show that they've ever witnessed. And so that's because of all of you guys and our guys on the risers. So thank you all for what you're doing. With that, I think we're done. I call this, well, Dave K.
Larry, if you want to have some comment about this thing, I can't stick around now because I got to go get poked, but maybe later this afternoon or sometime tomorrow. Happy to chat.
Dave Marley. Oh,
Bye.
bye-bye. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Thanks all.